This has to be the most creepiest and unsolved case for over a century now. The Hinterkaifeck murder. This happened in a small Bavarian farmstead in north of Munich in Germany, and this murders actually happened behind Kaifeck city. Yes, in Germany they use inter as a suffix behind, so that's where the name Inter Kaifeck murder came about. And six of these inhabitants were Andreas Gruber, the husband of the house, that's 63 years, Gazilia Gruber, 72 years, their daughter, their widowed daughter, Victoria, 35 years, Victoria's children, Gazelia and Joseph, 7 and 2 years respectively, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner, 44 years. They were all found struck dead by a mattox, and the perpetrator or perpetrators, be the case, because the assailant could actually be more than one, they could be more than one. They actually lived with the corpse for 3 days. Yes, 3 days. After killing these people, they stayed in the house, ate their food, and lived there for 3 good days. This whole incident happened on the 31st of March in the year 1922. Now, 6 months back, the family of the Grubers and their maid actually heard voices and noises in the attic, and they went there, searched, but they didn't see anything. Days later, the man, that's Andreas Gruber, actually noticed that in the snow he noticed a footprint walking towards the barn. But he didn't also see the footprint coming out of the barn. So he went back, asked his family members, okay, did any of you go to the barn today? And they were like, no, I didn't go today on this particular day. They didn't enter the barn. And the mom was wondering, okay, the person went in. Why didn't the person go out? He actually reported the case, told some neighbors, told some friends, and even when family neighbors actually offered to come help him search the barn and the attic, Andreas declined because the Grubers, they were known to actually keep to themselves. They were very quiet. Their house was a bit far away from every other person in that small town. They like to keep to themselves. So even when neighbors actually offered to come help him search the house, he actually declined the offer. The maid, on the other hand, believed that the house was haunted because she was hearing noises, she was seeing things, and she insisted that this house was haunted, and she quit the job. She left. And that was when they actually got a new maid on the 31st of March 1922. The new maid came in, Maria Baumgartner. In the afternoon of 31st of March, Maria and her sister actually escorted her to her new place of work. And as she got there, the sister even stayed for hours, helping her settle down and the rest. And after she left, she was most likely the only person that saw the family alive, because on the eve of 31st of March, that was when the whole incident happened. On the 31st of March, the family were in their home as usual, but something creepy happened. Something very creepy happened. Someone in the band lured the families one at a time to the barn. At first, they lured Andre, lured Gazilia, the wife, lured Victoria, and the 7-year-old daughter, Gazilia Jr. They all went to the barn, and that was where they met their fate. They were hit by a mattox, and we all know this mattox is one of the farm tools that is used for digging and chopping things. It's more of like an axe. It's used for digging and chopping. And the perpetrator hit them with the axe with blows to their head. And when he was done, he went into the house. They went in. Baby Joseph, who is just 2 years, was actually in his crib and he was sleeping. He also met the same fate. He was hit with the mattox. He had blows to the head. They didn't end there. They went to Maria's, that's the maid's bed chamber. They went there, also hit her with the mattox with blows to the head. 4 days had passed and nobody in the town had seen the Grubers. Not even one member of the Grubers was seen. A coffee seller came to the house to sell his coffee as usual. I remember, guys, this is 1922. There was no coffee as at then. So he came to sell his coffee. He knocked at the door, but there was no response. He left. In school, they noticed that Kazilia, the 7-year-old girl, has been absent from school for several days without any excuse. Okay, in church, they noticed that the group as they attend service on Sunday, and they're like, okay, something is wrong. Not until a neighbor actually was asking around. On the 4th of March, a repairman came to the house to actually repair an engine that he has discussed with her in the very previous days. And he went there, he noticed that there was nobody around. So he just went straight, repaired the machine that actually brought him to the house. And he spent roughly 4 hours in the house. He didn't still see anybody. Then he left. Around 3:30 p.m. on the 4th of April, Lawrence Kleinstuber, who is the neighbor, actually had to send his son and his stepson, 17 and 9 years respectively. He asked them to okay, go and check if you can get any contact with the Grubers. And they went, they came back, reported that they didn't see anybody, there was nobody around in the home. He had to actually call a couple of neighbors with him. They headed to the Gruber's home, and immediately he went to the barn, and that was where they noticed the Grubers, the dead bodies. Four dead bodies were stacked on top each other, and they were covered with A's. Andres, Gazelia, Victoria, and Gazelia Jr. They were all stacked on top each other. They were covered with A's. Immediately, they called the police, and the police came. They also went to the house. They noticed that baby Joseph and the maid Maria, they also met the same fate. Joseph was covered with his mother's nightgown. Maria was in her bed chamber. The perpetrators used her bed sheet to actually cover her up, and it was a very really gruesome sight to behold. Immediately, the body was actually taken to the hospital and autopsies was carried out. Kazilia showed signs of strangulation and 7 blows to the head, which left her with a cracked skull. Then, for the husband Andres, his face was caked with blood. His face was so smashed that you could actually see his jaws. His jaws were protruding out of his face. Victoria had a star shaped on her head. That's the theory that she was struck 9 times. 9 times to the head. Then little Gazelia had circular wounds on her face. She had her jaws, her neck, everything was protruding out of her face. She was even still alive, while Kazelia Senior, Andres, and Victoria died immediately on impact. Kazelia Jr. actually was alive for several hours, still gasping for breath, but since nobody actually found them on time, she died. And for Joseph and Maria, they had the same fate. They made the same fate. They were gruesomely struck with the mattocks that they died on impact. Immediately, investigation started and different theories were flying around. The first theory was about Lawrence Klintuba. Yes, remember Lawrence Klintuba, the man who actually found the dead bodies, the one who actually sent his son and his stepson to find out if they could make a contact. Yes, that Lawrence Klintuba. Because people were saying in the town that Lawrence was actually the father of Joseph. Remember, Victoria was a widowed lady, so most persons were saying Lawrence was the one who fathered Joseph. And Kazilia Jr., she had a friend in school, and the small girl of 7, actually told the police that the night before this whole incident happened, they saw Victoria fighting with a man, quarreling with a man, and it was quite serious. And we are like wondering, okay, which man? So now the theory that was going on around Lawrence Clinton was that he was unwilling to pay child support, and there was a very long relationship going on with Lawrence and Victoria. Before Victoria actually got married to this husband who died, they had a relationship. Lawrence and Victoria had a relationship, but Andres was not in support. So Victoria married someone else, Lawrence got married to someone else, and as she was widowed, the relationship continued, and they said he was unwilling to pay child support, so it could be a prime suspect. He didn't want to pay child support and decided to kill everybody. But when they investigated him, they arrested him, but there was nothing connecting him to the crime scene or to even the crime itself, so it was dropped. The second theory was Carl, a former husband. Yes, Carl. Most persons were saying it could be that Carl didn't die because Carl died in World War I. He was a soldier, which made Victoria a widow. But most persons were like, the police were like, okay, could it be that Carl actually wasn't dead and he came back and was angry that Victoria had picked up and started dating someone else, even had a son with someone else, and decided to kill the family? But while the investigation was going on, they got to know that Carl was truly dead. Some of his fellow soldiers actually confessed and said, okay, they actually saw his dead body. He died in France, so there's no way he will come back from the dead. So that theory was dismissed. It didn't even last long. Then the third theory was about Andres and Victoria, that there might be a relationship, that Joseph could actually be the father, the son rather, of Andres, that there could be an incest going on, because it was said that Andres was quite abusive. That was a rumor going around that Andres was quite abusive, and that he had other children apart from Victoria, but it was only Victoria that stayed and escaped his abusive hands. And for the fact that Victoria wasn't abused by her father, it could be that there was a relationship, a sexual relationship going on between the two. But when the autopsy was carried out, the police noticed that it, it was not a suicide homicide type of crime, because when they compared the hit on Andres, it wasn't inflicted, it wasn't self-inflicted. They looked at the body of Victoria also. The wounds and the injuries were not actually self-inflicted, so it was cancelled that it wasn't a suicide homicide crime. Someone else actually killed this person. So the whole theory of Andres or Victoria actually killed the whole family, then killed themselves, died also. Remember, guys, this is 1922. 1922, there was no case of DNA, there was no DNA technique and the rest, because they also noticed that in the house, when the police investigated the home, the perpetrator actually finished the whole bread that was in the house. They ate meals in the house. They even warmed the house. There were firewoods, there were ashes around. They even fed the cows, the animals in the barn. The perpetrator fed the animals, ate in the home, slept in the home, and it was really strange. Several arrests carried out, but none of the arrests, nobody was actually convicted of this crime. At a point, the case was dropped and closed. It became a cold case. But years later, someone else would pick it up, but nobody till date could actually detect or convict anybody for the murder of 31st of March 1922. This is one of the most creepiest and unsolved mysteries for over a century right now. To date, we do not know who actually was making those noises in the attic. To date, we do not know who had the footprints, who walked towards the barn. Could the house truly have been haunted, or could it be someone else? But with a degree of certainty, we are sure that whoever did this had a personal vendetta with one or more of the Grubers. Whatever secret the Gruber's family kept in life and in death now slumber with them alongside in the grave. This is a very sad case. I actually sympathize with the family of Maria, the maid who just came on arrival on that eve she was killed. But this is the case of the Hinterkaifeck murder. I'd like to hear your comments below.